Hello, my name is Lon Safko, and I've been asked to come here today to tell you a little bit about social media. I am considered one of the world's leading experts on social media. I wrote the biggest book ever, 850 pages on social media, and it was the first book ever on social media, Social Media Bible. So take a look for that. And also invented a new form of marketing called Fusion Marketing Bible. And I've been practicing social media for 12, 13 years. Yeah, that's a really long time considering social media is such a new technology, and traveling around the world teaching top executives. So I pretty much understand social media on an international level. So let me tell you just a little bit about social media and why it's important. It's all part of a mix in marketing and business. If you're going to do anything in marketing, sales, or business, you really have to understand how social media is effective, how it's not effective, and how best to use it. Social media started in the early 2000s. Actually, Facebook, I think, came out in 2004. And believe it or not, MySpace, all the way up until 2008-9, was a significantly bigger platform than Facebook ever was. MySpace was really one of the first most popular social media platforms out there, and it's still going strong, believe it or not, ever since Justin Timberlake bought it, and you can't lose when you're working with Justin Timberlake. So let me put it in perspective. Again, social media is part of the overall marketing package. So what is social media? Well, there's three different types of marketing, basically. There's traditional marketing, digital marketing, and social media marketing. Let me explain the three different types. Traditional marketing is the stuff that you see all the time: newspaper, magazines, all kinds of print ads, radio, television, junk mail, all the different things that we were used to communicating with our prospects and our customers up until really the advent and the popularity of the internet. That's traditional marketing. And then, again, early 2000s, we saw something called Web 2.0, which eventually evolved into social media. But I want to distinguish that there is another category within social media, and that's digital marketing. Now, here's the difference between digital marketing and social media marketing. Digital marketing doesn't require a two-way conversation. Social media marketing implies that there's a two-way conversation. Some examples of digital marketing are things like RSS, SEO, SEM, and if you're not familiar with those, you need to get familiar with those because that's still part of marketing, digital marketing. And that's things like RSS, really simple syndication, where you can put a link on a blog, for example, where somebody can click on it and with one click and sign up for all of your updates and not have to remember to come back and see them. And then there's SEO, search engine optimization. Yeah, that still has to be done, because if you expect the search engines like Google and Bing and Yahoo to find you, you need to really have your web pages, all your web presence optimized. And then search engine marketing, SEM, still critically important, and it's even more so important than everything else because that's where the money goes. Follow the money. The money is the most important part of marketing because either you can spend it efficiently and get a good ROI, return on investment, or you can lose a lot of money by spending it incorrectly, either in the wrong places or not the right way. So about 2007 or so, social media changed from this Web 2.0 into social media. And let me go through at least some of the statistics for some of the largest websites out there, the social media sites. You have things like Facebook with over 2.5 billion monthly active users. Yeah, 2.5 billion monthly active users. Now, don't forget that monthly active users is a critical distinction from number of members. The number of members of any of these social sites are significantly higher than the active users. And what that means is people sign up for accounts and they just don't use them. Yeah, that's the difference. And what we're seeing is a dramatic drop in almost every one of the social media platforms, including Facebook. The number of people that are using Facebook and that are actively using it every day, logging into it, is dropping. And the same is true for all of the other platforms. We're inundated with information. We run out of time. We don't have enough time to check all of our platforms every single day. So what happens is we become polarized. We pick up one, maybe two platforms that we're comfortable with, and we focus on them. And very seldom does anybody post to the others. Now, as a marketer, that's going to cause a big problem for you, because where are your customers? Where are your prospects? Well, I can tell you that they're everywhere. They're on every one of these platforms. And trying to find a critical mass, trying to identify where the majority of your customers are, is going to be your challenge, because you have to test, you have to look everywhere for them, and you got to measure. Measure is really critical, more so than ever. Measuring cost of customer acquisition, you'll learn all about that, and that's really important. When you hear that again, ROI and cost of customer acquisition, pay attention, because those are really important topics. So Facebook, 2.5 billion people. That's insane. Think about that, is the number of people. And here's kind of a downside a little bit. The largest number of users are between 13 and 17 years old. Not a huge spending audience, somewhat. You get that tweens to the teens. Yeah, they have a certain amount of disposable income, but certainly not like people with jobs, older adults. So keep that in mind. And seniors are the smallest population on Facebook, believe it or not. So if you're selling RVs, you're probably not going to be cost effective to market on Facebook. And one of the things that's happening, again, to all of these social platforms is they're decreasing in their efficiency. And it's kind of pessimistic, but let me say this. In 2012, I came out and said social media killed traditional marketing and then turned its gun on itself, because I started to see trends in 2012 where social media was softening, and now it's actually true. And a recent poll, a report came out of Princeton that said that they anticipate that 80% of the active users in Facebook will disappear over the next 3 years. I don't believe it's going to be that high, but we're seeing that drop happening across all of the platforms. And what does that mean to us as business students? And that means that it's going to be harder and harder to get to that critical mass of people, because the effectiveness, the ROI, is dropping. And at the same time, the cost of using these platforms are increasing. So the best way to use Facebook is just engaging your audience, not for click-throughs. And that's really what we want. We want our prospects and our customers to see our advertisements, see our links to our blogs, or whatever we're trying to get them to do, however we define conversion, and get them to convert. And Facebook is not converting. That's another problem with Facebook. So if you're trying to drive somebody to an e-commerce site or somebody to a blog site, it's just not happening. Now, it's great for exposure, but if you're old enough to remember the dot bomb in the early 2000s, that's when we counted on banner advertising to be effective. That we thought that there was going to be a good ROI on banner advertising. Exposure. Why? Well, because we had a half a century of measuring success, whether it was newspaper, radio, television, magazine, by the number of eyes, by the exposure. That's the only way we really could measure traditional marketing up until then. And we thought that it would carry over to the internet, and it didn't. So exposure, engaging your audience, it's okay. But the problem also is that Facebook advertising, the pay-per-click cost, is going up significantly. And one recent number that I saw is that it can cost you $4.70 for a click, but they're not going to leave Facebook. So really, where is the value in that? So that's what I was saying, is you got to follow that money. You got to measure and make sure that wherever you're spending the money for the company that you're working for, or your own company, that it's effective. And the only way you can do that is measuring. LinkedIn, right now, they have 562 million registered users. And in that 562 million, 90 million senior level influencers. See, now that's a pretty good audience if you're trying to get to influencers and decision makers. And 63 million decision makers, 17 million opinion leaders. They're influencers. They're people that can, with just them saying that they approve of you, your company, or product, can mean a lot to sales. And actually the reverse is true. You don't want to get them on the wrong side of your company. And there's 10 million C-level executives. Okay, that's a pretty good number. And here's what I was saying earlier, is only 40% of the members in LinkedIn are active on a daily basis. Only 40%. So that means 60% of all the members inside of LinkedIn just simply don't use it that much. And there's 87 million of the 2 billion millennials globally. 2 million millennials globally. 87 million of them are on LinkedIn. And there are 30 million companies represented on LinkedIn. Kind of a big deal. Best use for LinkedIn, reaching B2B, business to business, prospects and potential employees. Those are the two best uses. So if you want to use it for general advertising or to promote a product, probably not the best place to go. And this is what you're going to have to learn. All of this for every platform in detail. Twitter's still out there. 330 million active users. That's pretty good. You know why? Because it got the Trump bump 4 years ago. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. It was on the verge of bankruptcy, and when President Trump was using Twitter as much as he was, Twitter got a whole new perspective. It's been doing really well over the last 4 years. So 330 million active users, 63% users worldwide are between 35 and 65. So what that means is the majority of the demographic inside of Twitter is between 35 and 65. Good demographic, unless you own a company like Forever 21, if that survives. But 35 to 65, not a bad demographic for most products. Maybe not yours. And 66% of the users worldwide are male, which is kind of interesting that Twitter, I thought it was both genders, but 66% are male, 34% are female. Keep that in mind based on whatever type of products you're going to be representing. And its best use is building an industry, authority, real-life updates. Real-life updates are important. A lot of customers, prospects like to follow a product or a brand. I mean, especially when you're talking about movie stars, the Kardashians, rock and roll singers, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But anything that, if you're on the cutting edge of a particular industry, Twitter's pretty good because it's updates, real life. YouTube has grown significantly over the past couple of years. It has over 1 billion registered users, and it's really growing as a marketing tool. And the reason is that people can sit for a 3 to 5 minute video. This isn't 3 to 5 minutes, but you're kind of forced to watch this one. But it's a lot easier to take in information through a video than it is through reading a blog or a book. So people tend to like it. Instructional videos, promotion, product videos. Got to keep it between 3 to 5 minutes. And out of all of the places that you can put your pay-per-click, PPC, YouTube has got a good ROI because people are converting, they're clicking, and they're willing to click outside of YouTube if you give them a good enough reason. Pinterest is another great platform, about 175 million monthly active users, and it's best for sharing products. You know what Pinterest is. It's pictures, and you post them, you pin them. So if you have any kind of a product that photographs well, services not so much, but products, yeah, Pinterest works really well. Works really well with the fashion industry, and in particular female fashion. So if you've got purse, shoes, top, skirt, totally awesome. But it's got to be something that's kind of a visual type product. Instagram, believe it or not, is still a good tool, or is a good tool, for the right kind of product. It really attracts a much younger audience. There's about 187 million daily active users, which means that number is pretty high. So what does that mean? The people that do like Snapchat, that have chose that platform as their platform of choice, are very active on it. So that's also a good sign. But what can you do with Snapchat? You know, again, we're back to, for the most part, super short videos or product photographs. But if you can build a following on it, they're going to follow you because they're very active on that platform. And then I'll throw one more out because I don't want to bore you with statistics in this whole video. Tumblr, also really popular, considered one of the top 10 social networks with about 412 million registered users. And the best way is to reach young audiences, believe it or not. Yeah, young audiences are using Tumblr. So let me just kind of summarize all of this information. Social media is here. It's here to stay. It's an integral part of business, sales, marketing. It's part of the trinity of marketing, which is traditional, digital, and social. Digital, again, doesn't require two-way communication. With SEM, search engine marketing, search engine optimization, there's no two-way. But social media does imply that you're engaging and interacting through comments, posts, retweets, whatever. So it's very, very important. But you got to understand that the pendulum is swinging back towards the center. A few years ago, 5 years ago, social media was a powerful tool. Now it's not as powerful, but unfortunately, that's the cards that we were dealt. We have to work with all three of those marketing categories. And here's another thing that's really important. I'm going to leave you with this. If you call yourself a social media expert, you know what you're telling me is that you only know a small percentage of marketing. I'm always shocked that people say that I'm a social media expert. So you're telling me you don't know anything about digital and you're completely useless in traditional marketing? What about the complete integration of those three? Do you think that they all stand on their own? They don't. Traditional is still out there. People are still reading junk mail, believe it or not. The direct mail industry has increased from less than 0.5% conversion to 1.5%, and it's pushing 2%. Now, that still doesn't sound like much, but the cost of sending out a direct mail is still not that expensive, especially when you're considering Google AdWords as an example. So they're becoming comparable. So traditional is starting to grow again in popularity. So here's my recommendation to you. Yeah, you do have to understand social media. And by the way, it is a moving target. In order to do this video, I had to do a lot of research just to make sure that my numbers were right and that I was talking about the right platforms, because they do come and go and they change. But not only understand social media, but you have to understand the digital side of it. You have to understand RSS and SEO and SEM and how web pages are designed and what search engines are looking for and how search engines think and what spiders do. That's really critical in marketing. And then, of course, traditional marketing is never going to go away. There still will always be some form of television, radio, print. There'll always be that. So here's what I say. Yeah, you can be a social media expert as long as you can look me in the eye and tell me you're also a digital marketing expert and a traditional marketing expert. So that's my advice to you. You can find me. My name is Lon Safko, L-O-N. Last name is Safko, S as in Sam, A, F as in Frank, K-O. And you can reach me at any of my two websites, lonsafko.com, or just, if you're lazy, safko.com. And by all means, I'm here to answer any questions that you ever have. Happy to help you in any way that I can. And I really appreciate you sitting through this video. I know it was more than 3 to 5 minutes, so I ought to take my own advice. Thanks a lot.